Warning. Spoilers. Assassin's Creed Origins and Assassin's Creed Odyssey are very controversial games. Ubisoft decided, fuck it. Better graphics means RPG, right? Now this does not mean I dislike the games. I loved AC Odyssey, and I really liked AC Origins. Now I'll be going through these games and I'll give you an honest, dumb child's opinion. I'm going to start with Assassin's Creed Origins, the game that came out first. Assassin's Creed Origins takes place in Egypt during the time of Julius Caesar and Cleopatra, and in my opinion, it is the worst possible time they could have picked for ancient Egypt. It was well documented, but probably the most non-Egyptian time of ancient Egypt. In the game, most of the areas are Roman and Greek. The pyramids are already ruins. In fact, Cleopatra is closer to our time than she is to the building of the pyramids of Giza. I'd say the worst time to pick for an ancient Egyptian game, since it really isn't that Egyptian. It's more Roman than it is Egyptian. Even the final boss is Roman. Even Cleopatra isn't really Egyptian. She's a part of the Ptolemies. The time period gets a 4 out of 10. Even though that is my least favorite part of the game, the time period, most people tend to like Cleopatra's time. I prefer Ramesses II, but that's just me. Let's move on. The map is incredible. It isn't entirely accurate. For example, Cyrenaica is all the way over in Libya, not north of Siwa, very northwest of it in fact, but I'll pass it off as being so that they could have more interesting things in a smaller map. Ubisoft isn't going to make the entirety of North Africa, and they don't have to. The pyramids are fantastic. This stuff beats the old synchronization points by a long shot. Being able to look all over Alexandria and look from the top of the pyramids of Giza is amazing. You can tell Ubisoft really put effort into this one. The cities are large and detailed. The ruins are the funnest parts. Exploring the ruins to find ancient hieroglyphs has always been something I would like to see in a game, and AC Origins delivered on this almost perfectly. They show Pompey's head in the hands of Ptolemy's statue before he's killed though. The Sphinxes are amazing. The Swampy Nile is pretty alright. The entire map is a total of about 50 square miles, which is a big map compared to most games. The map gets a 10 out of 10. Next, onto historical accuracy. Nope. Go watch OSP's video on it. I'm not gonna do this. 9 out of 10. The new systems they added are pretty good. The armor system and the weapon selection system feels like kind of an RPG, but I don't complain. I feel like that's what Assassin's Creed needed. It needed a weapon system, better than just more damage for more money. Now they have maces, swords, axes, staves, daggers, all sorts of shit. Some people say bows and arrows and weapon selections don't fit, but I think it was well needed and Ubisoft made the right decision. I'm not trying to praise the shit out of Ubisoft. I think they are incompetent. Just look at Rainbow Six Extraction. They added Senu, which I think was a great idea. The eagle vision thing was always a mechanic I didn't really like. Having a personal eagle to fly around and mark enemies is awesome. Having an eagle you can drive around is cool enough, but also being able to use the eagle for scouting makes it 100 times better. The ability choice system isn't that good. It's pretty similar to the Syndicate ability system, but there are more ability choices. It's kinda useless. Most of the abilities you can get aren't that good. The ones that are moves that you can use are kind of like cool little perks that you'll use at most once. And the ones that upgrade your damage and health and arrows do nothing noticeable. So for new things, we're 2 for 3. Another thing they added was the Order of Ancients list menu. Where you could get information on the members of that organization and take them down. It kinda creates more of a Hitman type feel to the game, where you have targets that you need to find, figure out their weaknesses through quests, and then assassinate. It kinda makes you feel more like an assassin than a soldier, a pirate, or a criminal. The fact that they made them the Order of Ancients is pretty cool. It sounds cooler than just Templars. Order of Ancients fits a lot better in a game about ancient Egypt. The shield system works well and makes the game's combat a little bit more fun. It just isn't like two things, counter and break defense. The new combat system is hard and more complicated, but I'll get to that later. The new leveling system is tedious as hell. I hate it so much. Origins wanted to convince people to do more side quests because no one does them, so now they require them. You see, the way to make side quests work is to not make people do them, but to make them good and useful. Like maybe you get a cool weapon or a cool perk. Skyrim did this wonderfully. In Skyrim, you don't need to do the side quests. After a certain level, which is like 10, the enemies are always either your level or multiplied by your level. And the thing is, you don't need to do them, but you do because they're actually good and give you cool shit. There are interesting characters in Skyrim. You even get rewards after completing these quests. In Origins, it's fucking boring. All these characters are forgettable as hell, and you pretty much never see them again. All the quests are usually some bandit stole my shit, go get it for me. And you don't even get paid in the end, because you're a Magi. In other words, you're everybody's problem dumpster. At least in Odyssey, you get paid. The side quests suck, and even worse, to progress, you have to do them. If you don't, every enemy you fight will decimate your ass easily. So, with the new systems mostly covered, I'm gonna give them a 6 out of 10. Everything else is great, except for the level aspect to it. Because 90% of the game is spent on grinding on shitty side quests to get to the right level. Fuck the side quests in this game. I'll get to why it's specific to this game later. Next is the main character, Bayek, an Egyptian Magi who goes around solving people's problems for absolutely, you guessed it, nothing. The people are just like, yeah, go and kill these guys for us. And then Bayek gets back with scars and bruises, and all he gets is a thank you. Bayek even gets rejected by his own wife. He was a single father when his son was killed by the order of the ancients. He has nightmares every night. His close friends lie and betray him. And even when he saves people, they are mean to him. And through all that, Bayek is still a Magi who helps people for free. Forget General Sam's saddest NPC in existence. This guy is the saddest character in all of video game history. A man who is beat down in every part of society and still helps people for free. The ultimate good guy. Bayek gets a 10 out of 10 from me. You may think that, oh, you forgot to do Aya. There's like no part of the game that really has Aya in it. Mainly towards the end, but you don't really get to do much. She's descended from Cassandra, that's really it, I don't care. Next is the story. Now, here's some spoilers. It's complicated. Even I don't know what's going on, and I understand the Skyrim universe. So, there's this thing called the Order of the Ancients, which is basically an earlier version of the Templars, I'm pretty sure, and a future version of the Cult of the Cosmos. You have to work with Cleopatra to take them down. The Order of the Ancients killed your son near the beginning. I used to stream this game on YouTube, and I looked back on those streams, and I had no idea what was going on then either. So the story is complicated. Basically, you're this guy helping Cleopatra take down her brother Ptolemy, who is the pharaoh of Egypt, and you do by killing mercenaries of the Order of the Ancients, otherwise known as the Templars. The game is called Origins because at the end, Aya forms the Assassin's Creed, or in this game, known as the Hidden Ones. You just go around assassinating Templar motherfuckers, trying to take down the guys who killed your son. This one is a revenge game. Now the stuff outside the Animus, you ask? Oh, I didn't care about that shit. Nobody in the world paid attention to the story outside the Animus after Assassin's Creed 3. Except for that time the Eagle Bearer gave Layla the Staff of Hermes, that was freaking cool. But overall, the shit outside the Animus doesn't matter one bit, and I won't consider it. The story gets a 7 out of 10. Next is the stealth. The stealth is fun. It takes place in Egypt, and they managed to fit in environmental stealth very well. You can use all sorts of tools to be stealthy, such as sleeping darts, berserk darts, basically everything in Syndicate, but not as powerful. The hiding and whistling system was executed perfectly. The AI aren't mentally handicapped like in Black Flag. Most assassinations are one-shot assassinations. Staying up high in the sky isn't as useful as it was before. The detection system is very similar and enemies will usually investigate. Stealth is highly rewarded though, because fighting a bunch of enemies at once is a real pain in the ass. Stealth requires patience and strategy, but it's much more useful than going in guns blazing. The stealth gets an 8 out of 10 for me. I know this is controversial, but you edgy contrarians will always stick to the old games. This stealth system is actually good. Not saying the old games weren't. The old games were great, but if you actually gave the effort to learn the system, it wouldn't be as bad as people say it is. The next and final one is combat. This game puts combat a little more in depth. Since the old games were usually counter and break defense, this combat system has more substance to it. There is parrying, which is hard to get down, because you have to time it right while having your shield pointed at the enemy. There are now heavy attacks and light attacks. Light attacks are just regular and quick. Heavy attacks take a short amount of time to build up and recover from and do more damage. You can stun the enemy with heavier attacks. There are combos that add up to these 2 meters. One of them allows you to do a takedown and an attack that can't be stopped and does a lot of damage to the enemy. It will pretty much always kill them. The second meter allows you to go into a fit of rage and do more damage and partially slows down time. You can build up these meters by attacking enemies. You can use the bows during combat, but that leaves you vulnerable. There are different types of bows, one that shoots fast, one that has a scope and you can control after shooting it, a bow that shoots multiple arrows at once, and if you're more of a vanilla guy, then they have regular bows. They added all sorts of different weapons: swords, sickle swords, dual swords, daggers, maces, axes, scepters, spears. They added multiple shields. They're pretty similar, but different ones look different, and you can upgrade all your gear. You can throw firebombs too. The combat has been expanded so much. Each type of weapon does different things. Some weapons have special abilities, like they can add to your adrenaline or do bleeding damage, which basically just poisons the enemy in video game terms. Even the shields have abilities. The combat system has been drastically improved from the last games. Now, some contrarians will come out of nowhere and say that the old games are better. We get it, man. You're 20 years old and you want to sound old, unique, and better than everyone else because the old ones are better. That's your opinion. But sorry, because it's wrong, and I give the combat a 9 out of 10. It loses 1 point because fighting multiple enemies gets annoying, especially with archers. The total score for Assassin's Creed Origins is 63 out of 80, since there was 8 categories, and the total added up to be 63 points. In the end, Assassin's Creed Origins is pretty good, but leaves something to be desired. Now on to Assassin's Creed Odyssey, the Greek one.
You carry the blade of Leonidas. Act like it.
Assassin's Creed Odyssey takes place in Greece during the Peloponnesian War, the war against Athens and Sparta. Now they picked one of the 2 best times they could have picked in Greece, the Greco-Persian Wars and the Peloponnesian War. The Greco-Persian one being the one that 300 takes place in. And the Peloponnesian War, I've already given the main thing. Unlike Origins, this time period is amazing and fun to experience. You can fight for Athens or Sparta while still keeping the main story being the same thing. This is also the best time period for the Peloponnesian War because of all the cool characters you can get to meet. Socrates, Pericles, Alcibiades, Cleon, Archidamus II, Brasidas, Herodotus, Aristophanes, Hippocrates, Phidias, Aspasia, and many more. All the really cool, iconic ancient Greek guys except for Homer and Plato. Well, Plato's in it, but he's just a child. The time period is phenomenal. They could not have chosen something better. 10 out of 10, Ubisoft. The next thing to rate is the map. The map is massive. The map is 90 square miles, 10 more than Odyssey, which is quite large. The cities are pretty big, and accurate as well. The Parthenon is amazing, though many of the cities take up like half of the provinces. For example, Athens is like a fifth of Attica, when in real life it is 100th the size of Attica. Evia is not as big as in real life, and mainland Greece is actually a lot longer than it is in the game. But the map is wonderfully crafted. There are forests, mountains, and mountains, and mountains, and mountains. That's because Greece is mostly mountains. They did a good job of it too. There are valleys usually, and the forests look realistic, along with the grasslands. The buildings are pretty much the same thing as AC Origins, but with white paint instead of a yellowish brown color. The forts look pretty cool too, and are well designed. They added a lot more caves to this game. The synchronization points don't look as cool, but that's because the pyramids aren't in Greece. Most of the synchronization points just overlook mountains, and you usually can't see past them. You can even take parts of the map for Athens and Sparta by lowering the hold on the region and fighting in a battle. But the map is wonderfully made. I give it a 9 out of 10. The next is historical accuracy. The game is pretty historically accurate while keeping fun gameplay. The buildings have paint on them, the statues are also painted. Things in ancient Greece had color, you know. The reason it isn't there today is because of how paint works. It fades. Pericles wanting to be safe and Cleon wanting to fight the Spartans, the characters are portrayed quite accurately. Socrates is too. Trust me, I've read Plato. The symposiums were accurate. The map is accurate. The island of Altus gets a seal of approval from my friend Tyler, who played the Arma map a lot. A dialogue in the game is actually from Plato's Republic, though I do have a few complaints though. Athens has a good military, and Sparta even has a navy. Seriously, Sparta had almost 0 ships as far as we know. The game doesn't even show the 2 sides being that different. The only visible difference is that Athens is based in Athens and Sparta is based in Laconia. It doesn't really show the fact that Sparta had a really powerful army and dominated the land entirely, and that Athens had an extremely powerful navy and completely dominated the sea. If you want to hear more, Overly Sarcastic Productions also did a realism review on this one. I give the historical accuracy a 6 out of 10. Next is the new systems, the main one being the mercenary system. The mercenary system is Basically, there are these pretty good enemies that attack you whenever someone places a high enough bounty on your head. There are certain levels of wanted, and it can increase based off the crimes you commit. And as it increases, higher level bounty hunters will come after you. They each have names and whole backstories. I mean, until you just wipe them from the face of the earth because you saw they had a cool spear as their dropped loot. It's kind of a cool system. Sometimes you can pick up bounties for them because, remember, you're a mercenary too. They added the Hermes tablets, which give you random quests and bounties. They kept the leveling system, but this time you can't just insta-kill anyone 1 or 2 levels above you. Anyone 1 level above you will be a hack and slash, and anyone 2 levels above you will be a tank. They got rid of every enemy that is your level, and 1 above you can insta-kill. Now, you can only really insta-kill the light soldiers and archers. You have to get the critical assassination perk to kill anything higher than that instantly. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I actually like this system. I don't prefer it, but I can manage. It costs adrenaline, but you can get adrenaline by assassinating enemies. So you can build up adrenaline by assassinating the light soldiers and archers so you can insta-kill the bigger enemies. They got rid of all the tools, which is a real shitty idea. The tools are how you use fucking stealth, and it pisses me off they got rid of them. The sleeper darts are crucial, and the berserk darts basically made the game more than just an RPG. They got rid of all the distraction tactics you could use by lighting a chariot on fire or burning shit down to distract the enemy. They replaced all the tools with abilities, and those abilities are really more combat-centered, not stealth-centered. The kick ability is sort of stealth-centered because you can use it instead of an assassination to kill an enemy high up on a wall. The vanish ability doesn't even really work. The rush assassination thing I didn't use because it looked like an ability that would actually do more bad than good, since you technically expose yourself to the enemies when you do it. The summon a lieutenant ability I didn't really use, and you may say that it has a lot of distraction element, but it doesn't really compare to the old berserk thing that you could do. You don't really feel like an assassin. It feels more Valhalla-like. Other than that, every single other ability in the stealth tree is used in combat. The hero strike, slow time, vanish. It's all more combat-based. The one reason I like Assassin's Creed Odyssey more than Assassin's Creed Origins is that the side quests are actually good. They usually have a good story to them. Characters that aren't faceless nobodies. The side quests have actual cutscenes, the characters sound genuine and give you interesting things to do. Pretty much every side quest in Origins is just, bandits took something, go grab it for me. Assassin's Creed Odyssey quests are usually like, this island is corrupt and a terrible leader is running it, and then you go murder like 100 of his followers, find him, and then just murder him. They can also have you go do something for Socrates or Alcibiades. You can rescue a guy for Socrates and then talk about whether or not it was ethical to do that. Then you can help Alcibiades deliver Olivoses to people and then get them to kill someone by claiming it was from someone other than Alcibiades. It is very interesting and pretty fun too, and since most of both Assassin's Creed Odyssey and Origins are side quests, this is very important. They changed the hidden blade to the Spear of Leonidas. Leonidas was the guy in 300, and also the Eagle Bearer's grandfather. You get the spear at a young age, and you use it basically as the hidden blade. As you get farther in the game, you can upgrade the spear. It makes you have more adrenaline slots, and you can upgrade your abilities more. You can also use it as your second dagger and sword. It's basically the same thing as a hidden blade, but you can use your abilities with it. The new naval system sucks ass. It is only actually fun when you're only fighting one ship. When you fight many, it sucks. It sucks so bad I run away from the fights, because if you actually fight them, once you get halfway done with one ship, another one comes around to help. Once you're halfway done with that one, 2 more come to help, and so on. It's an endless loop of bullshit, and the guy who designed it probably dropped out of elementary school. They also added a manual save system, which was much needed. Thank you, Ubisoft. There is now a cultist menu, where you can find the cultists yourself through clues you get from side quests and killing other cultists. There are different kinds of cultists. There's a system where you can upgrade your ship and hire lieutenants. You can upgrade your weapons and engrave them. That is really all the important new stuff. I rate the new stuff a 5 out of 10. The next topic is the character, the Eagle Bearer, since you can play as both Cassandra or Alexios. Your character is a Mythios, otherwise known as a mercenary, with kind of a dark past. The Eagle Bearer was thrown off Mount Taygetos trying to save their sibling. You were then saved by an eagle, which is now known as Icaros. You take a boat to Kefalonia, and you are raised by Marcos, who turns you into a mercenary so you can help him with shit. Your character is a mercenary, better than a Magi because you get paid. You don't get the rank, but at least you get money. You go around doing things for money, using your grandfather's spear and your eagle. You go around trying to defeat the Cult of Cosmos, which are the Templars. That's kind of it. You aren't as much of a character as Bayek is. You're more of a no-name. You aren't really an assassin either. You're a Spartan warrior. The Eagle Bear is cool and all, but just not as good as a character as Bayek. The Eagle Bear is driven by money. I mean, so is Edward Kenway, but he actually becomes an assassin. The Eagle Bear doesn't really fit into the creed. I mean, it doesn't exist then, but he just doesn't fit into it. The Eagle Bear gets a 7 out of 10. The next topic is the story. There are 3 stories, and I'll list them off, and each one will get a score out of 3, except for the main one, which is scored out of 4. And that will add up to 10 with the whole thing. The main story is about the Eagle Bear trying to find their sibling and reunite their family. It all begins with the Eagle Bear sent to kill their sort of father Nikolaus by a cultist. Then the Eagle Bear learns the Bronze of the Cult of Cosmos is their sibling, otherwise known as Deimos. The Eagle Bear is sent all over to try to save Deimos. Main characters include Marcos, a vineyard owner who's pretty funny, Phoebe, a child who dies and made me sad, Pericles, a leader, Marini, the mother of the main character who is a warrior, and other family members that will take too long to go over. You end up talking to your sibling on the top of a mountain after a while, and you can choose to kill Deimos or let them live. Or Deimos kills Marini? I didn't get that ending, and I only know the other because of a YouTube video. That story gets a 4 out of 4. The second plot revolves around the Cult of Cosmos, who are basically the Templars. You go around killing them and getting these triangles to upgrade the spear. The story is kinda weird, but you can go around killing the cultists and getting their shit. They each have branches with different names, and the names sort of distinguish them. The gods of the Aegean Sea are captains of ships, and the heroes of the cult are mercenaries. It ends with you finding the leader, Aspasia, realizing that she turned on the cult to help you, and then you destroy the massive thing of triangles. You have to track all these cultists down by killing other members associated with them and doing quests for people that are in the same sort of region as the cultists you were hunting down. The cultist story gets a 2 out of 3. The last story is the Atlantis story, where you seal the gates of Atlantis from the cult so they don't get that much power. You learn that your real father is Pythagoras. Yes, I mean the mathematician. Apparently, he is still alive, and you help him seal the gates of Atlantis. Atlantis is Isu technology shit. You get these sort of artifacts from killing all these mythological beings, like the Cyclops, the Minotaur, and the Sphinx, and Medusa. You return to the gates of Atlantis and seal them. Pythagoras dies and gives you the staff of Hermes, Greek words I can't pronounce. The Eagle Bear then can live forever, and when you take off the Animus thing, you meet the Eagle Bear, and they give you the staff of Hermes, which is really the out of Animus point of the game. That story was fun because the bosses were fun, and they actually had to do with the stuff outside the Animus. Everyone for some reason claims Medusa is the hardest boss ever. She was really easy if you had enough arrows. That story gets a 3 out of 3 for me, which all together adds up to be a 9 out of 10. I really liked the Assassin's Creed Odyssey story. It made sense and was interesting. The next topic is stealth. Stealth. The one thing that defines Assassin's Creed other than tailing missions. Assassin's Creed Odyssey Stealth is based on hiding in bushes and whistling. That's kinda it, really. I mean, you can sorta distract the enemies. The stealth is easy. That's the thing. It's fun, but the fact that it's easy blinds you from the real issue. Where are the sleep darts? Where are the poison darts? Where are all the cool things you could use? It's all abilities now. No more tools. The abilities are more combat-based as well. This game was made for combat more than stealth, and it's quite obvious. There's not that much to it. That's why this section is so short. The stealth gets a 3 out of 10. The very final topic for this video is combat, and it is the most prominent thing in the game. Assassin's Creed Odyssey has a great combat system, with many different types of weapons, and wait, no, they're pretty much all the same thing as the weapons from Origins. The bows, they changed the type of bows that you can use that shoot like 3 arrows at a time, or have a scope, into abilities. It isn't as fun, and definitely not as good. But the main thing Assassin's Creed Odyssey's combat revolves around is the abilities, and doing things to charge those abilities. You parry very simply by just pressing a button, dodge, and attack enemies for adrenaline. And the adrenaline is what you use for the abilities. They didn't give you a shield though, which confuses me since pretty much every enemy in the game you fight has a shield. They couldn't have just added it in? Never mind, but the main damage you do is abilities. Those abilities include, but are not limited to, wiping someone off their feet and stabbing them, doing a light thing that blows up and stuns enemies. You can kick people, which is pretty cool, overpower attacks, where you can just hit someone a bunch and they can't fight back. You can take the shield away from enemies. You can ram them like a bull. You can do sort of a smoke screen. And there are many more that I'm not going to list because I don't really care. You use usually one adrenaline segment for each of these, and you can upgrade your spear, which gives you more adrenaline slots. Upgrading your spear also gives you the ability to use your ability points to upgrade your abilities. For example, the sweep off your feet one adds one extra attack move every time you upgrade it. The ability points can be spent either buying abilities or upgrading them. They added the mercenaries that track you, and that's kind of fun, usually if you're only fighting one, alone. Everyone in this game wants you dead. If you commit even a tiny crime, the citizens will band together and beat you with shovels and shit. The worst part about this game, though, is the animal combat. It is so tedious and hard for no reason. I have a higher chance of living fighting Medusa than I do wolves and boars and shit. Those things can just kill you. Really no way to fight back because they gang up on you. It is the worst thing in Assassin's Creed, and I'm glad they didn't do that in Valhalla. One thing they removed from Assassin's Creed Origins that was good was the bandits that would attack you anywhere you go. Luckily, now they only have hideouts. The combat system is pretty fun, and luckily designed so that you can fight more than one person. Origins was really better with 1v1 combat. Assassin's Creed made it better so that you can fight groups of people. You just don't want certain people in that group, and it gives you incentive to assassinate the ones you don't want to fight, such as the archers and the better archer guys. So, Assassin's Creed Odyssey isn't a hack and slash. It's got many different types of things you can do in combat, and it is the best part of the game. It gets a 9 out of 10. Which leads us to the final rating of Assassin's Creed Odyssey. 58 out of 80. I actually liked Assassin's Creed Odyssey more, but whether or not I liked the games made no difference. This is a complete review. I did my best not to pick favorites. The score for the two is Assassin's Creed Origins being 63 out of 80 and Assassin's Creed Odyssey being 58 out of 80. Assassin's Creed Origins wins by 5 points. A game review wouldn't be complete without the question, should you, and which one should you buy? And that answer is neither a yes nor a no. If you want a more stealth-based, good graphics, decent story, alright combat system, and keeping mostly with the old games, buy Assassin's Creed Origins. It's a pretty good Assassin's Creed game. Without the existence of the other games, it wouldn't really be that good. I recommend Assassin's Creed fans buy this one. Now, if you want a good standalone combat-based game, and you don't really care if it keeps the essence of the old Assassin's Creed games, if you just want a good game regardless of the series, buy Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Hell, buy both. I liked them. And that concludes the long review. I know for a fact no one watched this far.
I'm only